I, 24 female, think my boyfriend, 23 male, is sleeping with his boss, 54 female, because he always comes home late showered and she gives him bonuses. How can I get the truth of it? My boyfriend works a physical job, so he usually comes home dusty and sweaty. Now it's becoming more often, but he comes home already showered sometimes. I asked him before, and he said his boss lets him use her shower sometimes when he works late and wants to just get home and rest. She also gives him a lot of extra cash, and I find it too much for what he does for work. He also sometimes brings home gifts for me that his boss sends for me. I don't know why she would randomly send me expensive gifts or gift cards. It just doesn't sit right with me. I looked through his phone, but he never has any messages with her, so I don't know if he deletes them. We have each other's location, so if I try to go watch what he does, he would know too. Is there anything that I should do to get more evidence? Or how do I even confront him without proof? She treats him too nice, and I've noticed, and she definitely at least finds him attractive, because the last time I went to their company party, she kept telling me how I was a lucky girl to have such a handsome boyfriend. In the comments, Mr. Fluffpants says, if he just wants to get home and rest, why would he shower at her place? That's super weird. Like, even if someone offered, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. What kind of work does he do for her? You have a right to feel uncomfortable because it definitely seems sus. Typically, these outlandish excuses for things tend to be lies. Is he bringing extra clothes? Like, I don't understand. That's so weird. Is he showering and getting back into his work clothes? What the hell? Unless he's worrying about smelling like sex when he gets home. OP, there really is only two ways to go about this. Either ask him and believe the answer, or investigate. I'm throwing this out there because it's almost entirely disregarded in the comments. I only saw one person mention it, and I saw another commenter tackle it the wrong way. Considering that she's his boss, any chance she could be taking advantage of a power dynamic? I.e., she pays him, he feels like he has to keep doing X in order to maintain a job. Not specifically something as bad as blackmail, but could easily be a bad situation he found himself in. Ultimately, you're allowed to dip for any reason, or no reason at all. But while 23 is old enough to be well and truly accountable for one's own actions, relationships that take advantage of a power dynamic, such as pay, are a bit different and harder to manage when someone's tied up in it. I'm only saying there's a chance that could be what's going on, so you could investigate with an eye towards busting him, but I'd suggest looking into it with more of an open mind if you decide to look into it at all. You could also choose not to look into it and to just break up. You'd be valid for that decision too. OP says, my boyfriend is 23. But yes, I feel bad that I'm accusing him of cheating, but what if he's not? It's just hard for me to think he isn't cheating. I do have to figure this out, though I don't want to just break up. He's an amazing boyfriend. Thug Special Olympian replies, be prepared to not have a boyfriend if you can't trust him. It does sound sus, but the only way that you're going to get your answer if you can't take his word for it is some snooping and sneaking around. If he is not cheating, he will break up with you, and if he is, then you break up with him. Honestly, all of the circumstances given here tell me that it's most likely that he is cheating on you with the boss, because no one comes home late, showered, and then showers you with gifts from the boss. I don't understand why he would think that that's a normal thing. He's trying to normalize something that is very much not normal. If I were a friend in your life, I'd say, you can do investigating if you want. You can try and get to the bottom of this all you'd like. But at the end of the day, something's not right. And I wouldn't blame you for breaking it off now before you break your own heart looking through his phone and finding that evidence. So you can get the truth of the situation all you'd like, but I think we all know what's going to happen. And now, onto the update. So I went through most of the comments, even the negative ones. I ended up showing up at my boyfriend's boss's house and left my phone at home to see if maybe I could find something out without him knowing. I got there, and I saw that she had cameras, so I just stayed in my car to look around, and I didn't see much other than the fact that my boyfriend's truck was in fact there in her driveway, but his tools were still in the back. I have gifted him some toolboxes that stack, so I know exactly how many he has, and all of his boxes were still there in the bed of his truck. So I found it super weird and got a weird gut feeling. I ended up getting too nervous to go knock, so I left back home and waited for him. He got home late as always, and he didn't want to have sex, so I found it really weird. When he fell asleep, I gave his phone one more look because, to be honest, it was too clean the last time I came and checked it. I finally found out he has hidden apps, and I found out that they've apparently been communicating through WhatsApp and not messages. I wish I didn't find that, but honestly, I at least know what he was doing. They've been seeing each other, and she pays him to sleep with her. I saw all the messages between them, and what hurt more was that she even recorded him having sex with her and sent those videos to him in the chat. She knows I wouldn't be okay with this, and she said if he wasn't with me, she would have taken him for herself. She also does mention gifts that she has sent me, and she's promised him that she would in the near future pay for our vacation/take care of us. I called her through his phone and yelled at her and told her how I felt, and she told me that I should be grateful that she sends me these gifts and doesn't completely take him from me. I was crying in the bathroom reading this and seeing all of this, but I woke him up and got into a bad argument with him. He apologized, and I didn't believe him, but now I can't go anywhere until I get some more money. I can't afford to just move out, and he's been taking care of me financially for the most part. I don't have my parents either. How do I even go about moving on from him completely when I can't even afford to leave? In the comments, Stranger Character says, "You need to get a job, earn some money, and then break away. Do what you need to. Figure out where you want to go and what you want to do. Find a cheap apartment and put yourself through community college. Learn to be independent and never ever depend on someone else ever again. Then you can walk away anytime you want." OP says, "I have a job, but I don't get paid very well. The thing is, my boyfriend owns everything. He's the one paying my car note and insurance and all that. I don't know how long it would take for me to be able to afford my own car." Black Star Blues replies, "This is why you need to keep a cool head and no more emotional outbursts. The position you're in, your boyfriend could put you out with just your personal belongings, and that would be that. While it wouldn't be legal, you can't afford a lawyer to defend your rights. For the time being, go along to get along. Get a job, make a plan, save up every penny, and move on as soon as you can." And John Florida says, "This right here. OP could find herself homeless at any minute. The boss could pressure him to kick her out. OP, do you not have any friends or family who might loan you money to pay off your car?" And OP says, "Nobody that I know, honestly. He still owes like $18,000 on this car. It's pretty much brand new." Low Temperature says, "This is the problem with relying on anyone to pay your way through life. Look, you didn't trust him, and you wasted a bunch of time and effort running surveillance when you should have been getting a job and getting yourself out of that situation. Now your cover is blown, so unless your next step is blackmail, you've got to sit in that uncomfortable situation while you look for a job and earn enough money to get on your own 2 feet. Unless he kicks her out. I understand her emotions were running high, but she really should have played this smarter and pretended that she knew nothing until she could afford to move out." And that's some good practical advice that is, for me, outside of the scope of, yeah, he did you wrong, he's an asshole for that, you need to get out of there, because the reality of the situation is, a lot of people are like OP and financially dependent on the person that is cheating on them. While OP could have used this information sooner before blowing her own life up like that, I don't blame her for doing that. But now you have to deal with the consequences of those actions. Not saying that what you, OP, did was wrong, absolutely not, but it has in a way shot you in your own foot. Now your quality of living is going to go down exponentially because you weren't prepared for this relationship to end and what that meant for you. Given your position, we didn't know that. We didn't know that this was your financial position in the original post. So this kind of seems like a learning from your mistakes moment as to don't let this happen again. Don't let yourself be completely financially dependent on someone, because this is what happens. If you have the ability to not be financially dependent, please don't. So yeah, I don't really have too much else to add to that. I empathize for OP, and it seems like she's either gonna stay and deal with it, or leave and suffer for quite a long time until she gets herself on her own 2 feet. That's the reality of the situation. It's very much sad. Good luck, OP. Our next post is by user Vizvaki, and it's titled, I, 25 female, am hurt that my best friend, 26 female, didn't stand up for me when someone in our friend group, 25 female, uninvited me from a girls' trip the night before. Am I expecting too much from my best friend? Hi everyone. So I have a friend group from college, and we all still hang out with each other as a group every couple of months. My best friend, let's call her A, and I hang out almost every weekend and are very close. She is also good friends with another girl in our group, let's call her B. B and I are not super close, but I always thought that we were friendly together. I know in girl friend groups that it's not normal to be super close with everyone, and that's okay. I always tried to be her friend and treat her the same as the other girls. A few months ago, our group was at a picnic discussing a group trip. B said her family had a cabin upstate and we should all go up there for a weekend. Everyone agreed, and we all set the date for this past weekend. Everything was great and normal these past few weeks. We were all texting in a group chat about going on this trip and sharing what we're going to pack, what movies we're going to watch. Then the night before we're supposed to leave, B sends me a text message essentially saying, "Hi, I feel like we're not close friends. I think you don't like me, and that's okay. I don't want us to be fake with each other, so it's for the best that you don't join us this weekend." I'm shocked. However, I try to be understanding and tell her that I do like you and enjoy our hangouts. It's okay that we're not super close. I do not act fake around you. I totally understand, and the group can go without me. If I did anything to hurt you, I'm sorry and am open to talking about it. This really hurt me, and I was in shock trying to figure out what happened and what I did wrong. I texted my best friend A, who was attending the girls' trip, to let her know that I was uninvited. Her first reaction was basically, "Oh well, you girls weren't close anyways, so it's whatever." She then said, "I hope you don't expect me to get in the middle of this, because I don't think it's my place and would affect my mental health." I, of course, trying to be accommodating, said everything is okay and it's okay for her not to get involved. After a day of crying about this and feeling really awful, I realized that this was a really shitty thing that B did to me. And I also realized that my best friend A was not supportive of me. I don't expect my best friend to not go on the trip, but I expected her to acknowledge that what B did was really mean and awful. I just wanted her support, and I was hoping that when inevitably the topic of me comes up during the girls' trip, she would stand up for me and say, "Hey, it's okay for you guys not to be friends, but it's not okay to exclude someone from a group event at the very last minute." I let A know that her lack of support was really hurtful to me, and if she was in my position, I would acknowledge that our mutual friend did something really awful. I would feel really bad going on this trip knowing A is at home feeling really hurt. She, however, thinks that this conflict is solely between B and I, and that she shouldn't get involved. She said she has an independent friendship with B, and that her getting involved will make things worse. Do you think that it's wrong or too much to expect my best friend to stand up for me when our mutual friend, quote-unquote, uninvited me last minute to a group event? I'm not asking her to pick a side, however, it feels like she's okay with B essentially bullying me. It's okay that she wants to be friends with B, that's totally acceptable. However, I do think you should have the courage to stand up to a friend who is bullying your other friend. Greatly appreciate your insights. Thank you. In the comments, Shelly895 says, "You're wrong. A did pick a side. It just wasn't yours. A did what benefits her. Very last-minute change in plans. I don't think your friend is as good a friend or as innocent as she makes out to be. Someone must have recently said something to B, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was A, even in passing or jokingly. Yeah, odd for her to make that point about OP's private criticism of B, almost like someone might have accidentally, or not, broken OP's confidence and shared those remarks. I'm thinking A doesn't want to get involved because she's the one who kicked the hornet's nest. If OP and B never have a proper conversation to hash it out, A never gets called out for starting the drama and gossiping. Time for new friends. A is supposedly your best friend, but did what benefits her the most. You should consider leaving this friend group. Quote, she said she has an independent friendship with B and that her getting involved will make things worse. End quote. Really? Worse for who? Her? Back up to the post, there's an edit. Thank you for all of your comments. Really appreciate your insights. I agree that in principle, friends should stick up for each other, but that's not always the reality. I'm okay with not being friends with this group. Friends change a lot in your 20s, I guess. Some stay, some go, it is what it is. I spoke to my best friend A, and she's pretty set that she shouldn't get in the way and that it's not her place to say anything. She also is now saying that she doesn't really think that I should be upset, considering B and I were never close. And there were times I criticized B behind her back, so I shouldn't be upset. Maybe she's right that I shouldn't speak ill about someone, but I'm not perfect. And I think there's a difference between a private criticism and a different offense. If that changes your perspective, let me know. Edit 2. I texted B and let her know that her actions were mean-spirited and unkind, and I'm okay not being friends. I left our group chat. I spoke to A, and we agreed to take some time apart and speak about it in person next week. Edit 3. Hi all. Here's a final update. I spoke to A on the phone, and it seems that we just don't see eye to eye on this case. She said she acknowledges I'm hurt, but ultimately it was B's choice. I think this argument was going in circles, so I decided to put the issue at rest there. I think, though I'm valid in my ask, A is just not the person to support me in the way that I wish. A and I are still friends. I think that I'm willing to let this just be an isolated moment where we didn't align, and that's okay. I have other friends who are willing to stand up for me, and I now have a newfound appreciation for them. A and I will continue to be friends, but I will keep this in mind for the future. Thank you to everyone for your encouraging words, and also helping me see different perspectives. I agree with the comments here. I think a lot of this is A's fault, because a real best friend would stick up for you and kick up a fuss and be like, what the fuck is going on? If you're not gonna ride or die for your best friend, do you deserve that moniker? Are you really a best friend when you say, oh yeah, the entire friend group just absolutely destroyed you a few days out from a girls' trip that we have been planning for a long time? That was completely socially unacceptable, and it was spearheaded by one person. And I get that, but hey, keep me out of this. I'm not doing this for you. That sounds like a stranger to me. That does not sound like someone that's a best friend, because I know if I was in A's position and I was the best friend that could enact change and make things right, I would go to hell and back, raising that friend group up, being like, what the hell is going on? Who the hell do you think you are, B, to just uninvite her like that? You're insane and delusional if you think you can just get away with it and not have any reaction or repercussions for this. I would cause an immense fuss for my best friend to make sure that things were right, because you don't mess with my best friend like that when they've done nothing wrong. And they've done everything right in trying to make things right, and you haven't allowed them that opportunity. So, OP, I completely understand why you are hurt by your best friend not standing up for you, and I would take the advice of the comments and say, no, you are not expecting too much from your best friend, and maybe it's time to rethink this entire friendship group and whether you want to be involved with people like that going forward. And now, onto the update. So I wanted to make an update post because there have been some revelations. But first, here's a big congrats to the commenter on my last post asking if there is a man involved. It turns out there is. My best friend A calls me to chat a week after the whole uninvited situation happened. We talk like normal, and she tells me that she wanted to tell me the truth about what happened and why I was uninvited. Here is what she tells me. Basically, a weekend before we're supposed to go to the cabin for the girls' trip, we all went out for drinks at a bar. There was our entire girl group and a few other mutual friends. Basically, B was trying to set A up with one of the guys at that event, and turns out all of the girls in the group were upset with me because they thought that I was flirting with him, knowing that they were trying to set him and A up. This is news to me because I've given this man zero thought. This is all so out of left field. I just started laughing when A told me about this, because what the fuck? Let me clarify. I was not flirting with him. I didn't speak to him at all, except for a few minutes very late into the night. From my perspective, he was the one asking me about my dating life, how I feel about men, etc. I had a similar conversation with one of the other girls and guys when the topic came up with them. I was not flirting with those other girls and guys either. Also, I would never flirt with a guy knowing that my friend likes him. That's not the type of person I am. I thought that my friends knew that, and I really thought that A knew that about me. Anyways, I guess things were being whispered about me, which led to B uninviting me completely. This was not brought up before the girls' trip. A asked me if I found that guy attractive, and I said no. That's basically the only communication about this situation that I'm aware of. I don't know. I don't think I said anything flirtatious to him. I didn't ask him about his dating or sex life. I didn't touch him in any way. I didn't ask for his contact or anything. I was just being friendly. I just wish they'd asked me about the situation instead of assuming the worst of me. So yeah, I'm done being friends with these girls. It just feels like blatant slut-shaming. I'm hurt by A, but I clarified to her that I would never do that, and I'm sorry if my conversation with him looked flirtatious. I don't want to continue this fight because I have other priorities in my life. Thanks for your thoughts. Edit 1. Just wanted to say that I really appreciate your thoughts and your words of support. When A told me about this issue, I specifically told her that I don't want to be friends with people who assume the worst of me, and because I didn't want to argue, I just said A and I were fine. But I think you're right that she's also not been a good friend to me, and she did let her jealousy get in between our friendship. Our first confrontation, in my original post, was really hostile. She kept telling me that it's not her place to get involved and it's between B and me. But actually, this does have to do with A. And instead of telling me what was wrong, she just made me feel bad about being upset that I was excluded. I think I will kinda distance myself from her and we can be friends, but just not as close. As for the other girls in this group, screw 'em. I'm fine never hearing from them again. I have other friends who have my back. Thanks again. And as you should, OP, I respect you for making that choice. You have been incredibly disrespected throughout all of this, kept in the dark, and not supported by your supposed best friend. I think it's time to just cut your losses, move on, and spend time with the friends that really matter to you, because it sounds like you do have more of a community out there that doesn't involve themselves in bullshit like this. Thank you for the story, thank you for the update, and good luck. Our next post is by user Heavy Tadpole, and it's titled, Am I overreacting? My wife is talking to multiple strangers on Snapchat. So I happened to glance over at her phone while she was on Snapchat, and I saw her chat list was at least 5+ men, and I didn't recognize any of the names. I asked her about it, and she claimed that they're just random strangers that have added her, and they chat about normal things and share Snap stories. She says it's harmless conversations out of boredom and nothing sexual. I asked to see the conversations, and she reluctantly showed me that none of them have any active messages. I guess they delete after a period of time? I let it go, but I keep having this nagging feeling that something is off about it. I thought Snapchat was like for actual friends or people that you added specifically. I'm considering going through her phone. I don't want to be that guy if I'm being unreasonable or just out of touch on how that app works. Am I blowing up nothing in my head? Is this a normal thing? In the comments, Gold Firefighter says, what kind of boredom could a handful of Snapchat conversations with strangers possibly assuage? The app is not particularly entertaining from what I remember. It's suspicious as hell, to say the least. OP says, I've been wondering the same thing, to be honest. Green Machine replies, you can download her Snap data and it will have all of the conversations in the settings. Ask to see her Google Maps history for the last few weeks and see if it matches up with where she was supposed to be. I've been through a lot of shit with an ex and this is triggering to read. In fact, simplest way to find out if she's hiding anything is to ask her to give you her phone unlocked. If she has nothing to hide, it's not going to be an issue. Obviously, give her no pre-warning that you're going to do it by talking about it over text, etc. Edit to add. By default, Snapchat has it set to delete conversation after 24 hours. If you go to one of her chats and it's set to delete after reading, she's physically set that by herself. Also check the names of these guys on her socials to see if she's added these strangers as friends elsewhere. And OP says, I appreciate this. Sophisticated says, she's cheating on you. And OP says, I don't have any reason to think that she is physically cheated. This feels like approaching the line, but I guess maybe not if the conversations are never sexual. I don't know. Sophisticated replies, I'm not saying she's physically cheating with you. I'm saying that courting a bunch of different men on Snapchat is a form of cheating. I agree. And from my perspective, when I think of what there is to do on Snapchat, I think of the friends button constantly giving me notifications, and then I check it, and it's suggestions of people to follow, and they always have the most outrageous public stories, where to me, it always looks like they're just promoting their OnlyFans. And that, to me, seems like what the wife is doing here. It seems like she's talking to attractive men, that the Snapchat algorithm is promoting their very attractive public stories on, and getting attention from them on there. Whether those men are pushing their own OnlyFans content, which is definitely a thing, it's not just women, who knows? But if it were me, I would be very sus of her talking to strangers on Snapchat based entirely on my experiences with the app as a result of that. And that's also quite a new feature. I think it's only been in the last year that it started giving me those notifications being like, hey, we suggest you follow this person and consume their very horny content. So if I was OP, I would find that behavior very strange and very suspicious, and I'd want to know why she's doing it. Why do you need to talk to strangers on Snapchat? Why is that so important? And now, on to the update. Based on the comments from my original post and my own suspicions, I confronted my wife and asked to see her phone last night. She argued against it briefly, but did give me her phone. I saw that all but one of her conversations were old, and next to their names they all said received and were from 3 to 6 months ago. One at the top said opened 1 day ago. I looked at the map on there, and this man is local to us. When I clicked his name, there was a message that he saved that she sent him of a link to an address. I clicked it. It was a park near her work. She's denying anything happened, and they just talked, but never met. She's claiming to have gotten caught up in the attention and admitting that she knew they were flirting with her. That the link that she saw was just her sharing a nice park with the guy. That he added her randomly too, even though he's clearly from here and lives here. I can't believe a word she says. I left this morning, and I don't think I can go back today. In the comments, King of Side Hustles says, I don't even understand when things are going so well, women still dive into this type of action. She's clearly not ready for a marriage because she's still taking attention from many other guys. She clearly doesn't feel that you're the one that she wants to hollow down with. She just needs somebody to provide for her. You are the person that she wants to have to provide for her. But maybe she doesn't see you as fun or exciting, and that may be what she's looking for. Maybe she doesn't feel complete with you in some ways, and she's exploring to see if she can find it with another person. The problem she has is that if she's still going to keep herself on the market like this, then she needs to break up with you. Since she decided that she wants to cheat or potentially cheat instead, now you have the option to break up with her because of this. Women will always 1000% get attention throughout their lives. That's not going to be an excuse ever to potentially cheat on a partner. She needs to learn loyalty, and that's something that she hasn't grasped yet. You need to leave her and don't give her any chances, because she's already showing you at this stage of the relationship that she cannot keep herself away from their attention. She is your wife, she made a commitment, and she is not honoring it. I agree with him, OP. I think it's time to have those tough conversations that you need to have with your wife about this one, and ask her why she decided to cheat on you this way. There is no universe in which sending directions to a park near her work was anything other than cheating. And if you do believe that, I have a bridge to sell you. I hope you take the advice of the comments on this situation, action it in a way that respects you, and does not give her the benefit of the doubt. Good luck, OP. Sorry this is happening for you. You are still not overreacting. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. If you enjoyed, please let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.